Hello, writers. Today I want to talk to you about different strategies that you can use to start your position papers. We're going to be looking at a collection of writing moves that you can use to introduce your readers to your topic. For example, you might pose a question, or you might dispel a myth, or you might tell an anecdote, or you might even use research to provide a description of the issue or the topic that you're writing about. So let's take a look at some of these strategies. We'll start with one that I'm sure you're familiar with, posing a question. So you want to think of a question that's going to pique your reader's interest, that's going to be compelling and excite them about the prospect of reading. Here's a great example. This comes from Is a College Degree Necessary for Success by Joe Clement. He says, quick, what do Bill Gates, Richard Branson, and Michael Dell have in common? All billionaires, right? What else? Would you believe that none of them graduated from college? In fact, they have a combined 4 years of college, and none of them gained their riches from family connections. They worked and made it happen on their own. So the writer starts by sort of evoking the names of these really prominent people: Bill Gates, Michael Dell. And we're really starting to think, oh, what do they have in common? So see how they hook us in with a great, engaging question. Another strategy we can look at is dispelling a myth. How can we take something that maybe people think is true and prove that it's not true and say, hey, you may think this, but in actuality, this is true? Let's look at an example from The Importance of a College Education by Mark A. Heckler. He says, there's a narrative commonly circulated in media and political circles about the rising cost of higher education and student indebtedness. The narrative usually begins with this question: is a college education worth the investment? Folks who just read the headlines or rely on the opinion pages for their information might conclude that the value of a college degree is in decline. The facts tell a different story. So, do you see what he's doing here? He's starting off by saying, hey, this is what a lot of people are thinking. They're starting to think that a college degree isn't worth the financial investment. But you know what? You're wrong. Here's what the facts are saying. So, they're dispelling a myth, they're dispelling a commonly held belief. Maybe you'll try that out in your writing. One of my favorite strategies to try, and I think it's super engaging, is to tell an anecdote. An anecdote is a short story that really hooks your reader's interest. So, for example, let's look at this story from this article by Ariana Puzzo and Kelly Riskin. While Aaron Green was packing to head back to Clark Atlanta University for his junior year, he stumbled upon a college bill at his mother's house in Stone Mountain, Georgia. The number was so large that he figured it had to be a phone number. I know my mother is not paying that much money, he said, for school, he said. We don't have that. Though his mother, Diane, already had $40,000 in student loans from her own graduate school education, she has taken out $42,000 in Parent Plus loans for Aaron, and she kept him in the dark about this cost. So, this story really introduces us to this issue of parents taking out huge amounts of debt to help their children pay for their schooling. And we're introduced to this topic through the experience of Aaron packing to head back to school and discovering this bill that his mother had. And the final issue or strategy we're going to look at is using research to provide a description of the issue or the topic. It's important to give your reader background information about the topic that you are going to be discussing so they can feel like they know what's going on. So, this example is College Worth the Cost? 40% Say No comes from Daniel B. Klein. Now, notice the data that he gives to describe the topic. The cost of college has steadily risen over the past decade. It's increased by $7,000 to $34,740 at a 4 year private school, and that's just for tuition and fees, according to data from the College Board. A state school will cost less, about $10,000 a year for tuition and fees, but that's still a substantial amount of money. So he's using this data to really show the incredible increase in college just over a 10-year period. For you math folks out there, that's more than a 4% increase from 7,000 to 34,000. So that really highlights the issue. Which strategy will you choose to write your introduction?